Joseph Stalin, originally named Joseph Vissarionovich Dzigashvili, was born on December 18, 1878, in the city of Gori, in the Russian Empire, now Georgia. His father, Vissarion, was a violent, alcoholic shoemaker who often beat his family. His mother, Kiki Jelibadze, was a religious and hardworking woman who played an important role in Stalin's upbringing. The father of the family soon disappeared or died, sources differ on this, and Joseph was raised by his mother. He grew up in an environment full of poverty, violence, and insecurity from an early age. Stalin first studied at the Gori church school, where he was noted for his high intelligence and beautiful handwriting. His mother wanted him to become a priest, so she sent him to the Tbilisi Theological Seminary. However, at this school, Joseph was introduced to the works of Marx, Lenin, and other revolutionary thinkers, and quickly became attracted to anti-Tsarist and socialist ideas. These activities led to his expulsion from school. After that, he joined the ranks of the Bolshevik underground and participated in revolutionary actions, organizing labor strikes, riots, and even armed robberies to finance the party. During this period, he was arrested and exiled many times, but escaped from Siberian exile several times. During these years, he adopted the pseudonym Stalin, which means man of steel. In 1912, with Lenin's support, he became a member of the Central Committee of the Bolshevik Party and gradually consolidated his position in the party. After the October Revolution of 1917 and the overthrow of the Russian Provisional Government, the Bolsheviks seized power. Stalin assumed responsibilities in the revolutionary government, such as the People's Commissar of Nationalities, but was still in the shadow of figures such as Trotsky. With the death of Vladimir Lenin in 1924, a fierce struggle for succession began in the Communist Party. Although Lenin had warned in his will about Stalin, describing him as a violent and untrustworthy man, Stalin, with his political skills and the influence he had gained as general secretary of the party, managed to eliminate, exile, or execute rivals such as Trotsky, Zinoviev, Bukharin, and Kamenev one by one. By the late 1920s, he had become the most powerful man in the Soviet Union. In the 1930s, Stalin began a brutal program of industrialization and collectivization of agriculture. Although these programs boosted the Soviet Union's industrial growth, they came at the cost of millions of lives. Millions of small farmers were forcibly transferred to collective farms and their crops were confiscated. In the process, especially in Ukraine, a great famine, known as the Holodomor, occurred, which killed between 3 and 7 million people. Many historians consider the famine to be a deliberate genocide against the Ukrainian people. In 1936 to 1938, Stalin launched a wave of political repression and executions known as the Great Purge. Thousands of party members, military commanders, scientists, intellectuals, writers, and even ordinary citizens were arrested, tortured, and executed on trumped-up charges such as espionage, sabotage, or treason. Show trials were held, and the accused were forced to confess to their guilt under threat and torture. Many Red Army generals also fell victim to this purge, which severely weakened the Soviet military on the eve of World War II. Another tool of repression during Stalin's reign was the Gulag labor camps. Millions of people were deported to these camps for political, class, or even accidental reasons, where they worked in extreme conditions, starved of food, cold, and disease, and many of them died. According to some estimates, about 18 million people passed through the Gulag system during Stalin's rule, and between 1.5 and 3 million died in these camps. During World War II, after the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, Stalin became the supreme commander of the Soviet forces. Despite initial mistakes and heavy casualties, the Red Army eventually managed to push back Hitler's forces, and in 1945, the Soviets achieved victory by occupying Berlin. But during the war, Stalin also pursued brutal policies. Thousands of Soviet prisoners of war were sent to the gulags after their return from captivity, accused of treason. Hundreds of thousands of Poles, Balts, Chechens, and Tatars were also forcibly deported to Siberia. The massacre of Polish officers in the Katyn Forest in 1940 was also one of his regime's recorded crimes. Stalin married twice. His first wife, Ekaterina Svanets, died of tuberculosis in 1907. Her death is said to have been a great blow to Stalin, and he became colder to human emotions thereafter. The marriage produced a son, Yakov, who was captured by the Germans during World War II and died in a prisoner of war camp. Stalin is said to have refused to exchange him for a German general. Stalin's second wife, Nadezhda Alliluyeva, committed suicide in 1932 due to psychological stress and perhaps disagreements with Stalin. The marriage produced 2 children, Vasily, who served as an Air Force officer and later died of alcoholism and illness, and Svetlana, Stalin's only daughter, who fled the Soviet Union in the 1960s and sought refuge in the United States. On the night of March 1, 1953, Stalin suffered a stroke at his villa in Kontsovo. His entourage, fearing his reaction, did not dare to enter his room until they found him semi-conscious on the floor the next morning. Finally, after several days in a coma, on March 5, 1953, Joseph Stalin died at the age of 74. His death was accompanied by the joy of many of his victims and the fear of his followers.